So another patch brings us a new god, Isis. Now I know we're all a little bummed that we didn't actually get any lore from HiRez in their god reveal video. So let's just get a little bit of lore going on for Isis. Isis, the Egyptian goddess of magic, motherhood and fertility. The sister and wife of the god Osiris. So we're starting to get into the kind of Game of Thrones style of family here. Everyone back then seemed to love their brother and sister. Don't know what's going on. Isis was the first daughter of Geb, the god of the earth, and Nut, the goddess of the sky. She was married to her brother Osiris and conceived Horus, the hawk-headed god of war and protection. Isis was instrumental in the resurrection of Osiris when he was murdered by Set. Using her magical skills, she restored his body to life after gathering all of his body parts that was strewn across the earth by Set. The name Isis means throne. Her headdress is a throne, and let's see if I can get this word right. As the personification of the throne, she was important as representing the pharaoh's power. It was said that Isis tricked Ra into telling her his secret name by causing a snake to bite him, for which only she had the cure for. Knowing the secret name of a deity enabled one to have the power of the deity. Isis became the most important and most powerful deity of the Egyptian pantheon because of her magical skills. Now that we know a little bit about Isis, we can actually start looking at the skills and how HiRez have actually built her. Now they've completely changed her basic attack. It does no physical damage now whatsoever. It's all magical. So that means you can never build her AD. So you can't get no critical strike chance, no lifesteal or on-hit effects from her basic attacks. So Isis' basic attacks now do 30 magical damage plus 25% of her magical power, and they utilise a free swing chain, pretty much like Naja. But it's like it's just two normal attacks and then a widespread attack that does a little bit more damage. Now the swing times do increase slightly. Yeah, with the final hit, the swing time increased, and the damage has a slight AoE effect. You'll see on the video at the minute. You just see like a big line appear. Now her passive is Funeral Rites. Isis shares a HP 5 and MP 5 with nearby allies. Now it's not very big. And it's negatable. You don't have to really worry about it. For every player that she witnesses the death of, so basically if an enemy dies near her or an ally dies near her, she'll gain a stack, up to 10 stacks of this. So you could get up to like plus 20 HP 5 if you can get as many, like if you can witness 10 people die. But in a lot of matches, by the time you've seen 10 people die and you haven't died yourself, the game's pretty much over, or you're really high level and you won't have to worry about it. A passive basic attack progression is just 1, 1, and then 1.5 damage on the swing timer. So that was pretty much that. And the stacks do reset on death. So we're going to look at her one ability, which is Wing Gust, where she flaps her wings and gains an increased movement speed, and also doesn't actually get a backpedal penalty, so you can move backwards just as fast as you move forward with that increased movement speed, sending out 4 wing gusts. So it's just like little damage rings that come away from her. Remember, there's going to be there's always like a travel delay, so try and aim ahead of people as you're doing that. Dealing magical damage to all targets in their path, so they go through people rather than just collide, so there's no collision. So it's just kind of nice the way that is, and the firing duration is like 3 seconds, so you get 4 shots off in 3 seconds, and the cooldown's not too bad as it is. So the second ability, Spirit Ball. Isis sends forth a ball of spirit energy which basically travels to their target, and depending on the range on how long it's travelled, it increases its damage to like a maximum of 1.5 times. So basically the damage it does plus 50%, well, plus half at maximum range. At any time you use this ability and it's travelling, you can detonate it by pushing the same button that you use obviously to send it. And what it does is it does damage to all enemies within 10 feet, which pretty much just looks around the circle. If they get hit by the circle, that is it. You have to detonate it though, otherwise it can just go through. Now it will stun them, and the stun, you should kind of make note of this, is a 1 second no matter what level. So you can put 1 point in this and you'll always have a 1 second stun, even if you've got 5 points later. But it's a very nice damaging skill, starting at 70 and then ending up at 230, and also getting a 70% of your magical power contributions as well added. And the 12-second cooldown works really nice. Now for the third ability, Dispel Magic. Isis silences her enemies at the target location. Enemies hit also lose a portion of their magical protection and are slowed for the duration. Allies affected by Isis Funeral Rites aura gain the missing protections during this time. So basically, if you hit an ally with this, well, not ally with this, an enemy with this, anyone within the range of your passive gains the protections that they lose, that the enemy loses. So it slows the enemy for 35%. Now, that is the same as the stun on the second skill, Spirit Ball. At level 1, it does that as the same as at level 5. So you don't really kind of have to worry about leveling. I'll kind of go into skill priorities in a little bit, but that's where I want to go with that one. Now, the protection style will go from 10% to 30%, so it's a percentage-based ability, which is amazing, especially for late game, especially if you can get it onto a tank. Like if you've got all the aura going out there and you get it onto a tank, you steal 30% of their protections. That'd be brilliant for a team fight. So you're not actually going to possibly aim for a carry or anybody like that to stop the damage coming out. You could aim for, like I say, a tank and get extra protections for everybody. For about, it goes from 1.5 seconds at level 1 to 2.5 seconds. So 2.5 seconds isn't that bad. And it also has a silence effect. So from level 1, it's 1 second silence, which a silence means it's the same as HiRez 2, that silences. So it stops you from using your abilities for 1 second at level 1 to 2 seconds at level 5. And the mana cost ain't that bad, but it's got a high cooldown at 18 seconds. Now for our ultimate ability, the Circle of Protection. Isis plants her staff in the ground at the target location. Allies within the radius take 30% less damage from all sources, so it's definitely a damage mitigation. All damage mitigated this way charge up the staff, and which you can actually see the animation as it goes up. So I didn't actually do this in my gameplay because I didn't read the skill, well, the tooltips properly. So now I know the 30% reduction is great, especially if you drop it in a team fight there where everything's going on. Maybe like you got a HiRez Zeus ult combo, just drop it underneath them and it also will charge up during that time as well. So as it charges up, you'll see the animation actually increase the rings into the circle. Now it will kind of, well, I won't say what it will do in a minute. We'll just kind of go. So when it charges up, when Isis activates the staff, it explodes, dealing damage to everybody in the circle and heals everybody in the circle. Kind of depending on how much charge up you've got it. So the more rings you can get going to the center of the staff, the better. Okay, so the damage is actually quite high early on. So you got damage at 160 to 320 at level 5, plus 50% of your magical power. Now the healing is 80 to 160. At plus 25% of your magical power. So obviously you're going to do a lot more damage than you are healing. Okay, the damage reduction is 30% as we know, and the max charge is 800 to 4,000. So I don't know what that means, because it gives you damage and then it gives you charge. So the charge one we'll all have to kind of understand what that means later. So max charge damage and max heal scale is plus 1.5 to 3.5 times. Doesn't mean that, but it's a very short cooldown duration as well. It's kind of like the Ra ultimate. It's going to pretty much be up all the time at 60 seconds. So it's next to nothing. It's quite good. So I hope you kind of like it. There's the skills how she's built, and it's really quite nice actually. Now you can obviously combo up. The thing I will point out to is her Spirit Ball. You can't stun someone that's like melee range to you, because by the time it fires off, even if you spam the 2 button to try and get it detonate, you pretty much, it travels the distance of like the radius of one orb. So if you kind of put the orb and then put another orb, it's going to be the furthest orb, like the next orb away, which will cause the stun. So if you've got someone beating on you in melee range, you're not going to be able to stun them. So you're going to have to use your 1 or something just to kind of get away. Use your 1, use your 3 to kind of slow them up and give movement speed. Get away a bit and then use your 2 to stun. So there's food for thought for you guys while you're actually playing. So let's kind of get on a bit more on the patch notes. Let's kind of go through, see how we're actually kind of getting on. So there is obviously you've got the new skin, Queen of the Nile ISIS. Now, there's another bit that in the lore that you might be interested in, that every year that they say the Nile floods because Isis cries so much over the death of Osiris. Now, the death of Osiris, obviously she revived him and everything like that, but they relive it every year through rituals. So pretty much you're watching your husband die every year. That's a fun thing to have, okay? Yeah, very, very nice for the people that have actually had any loss. Okay, so the second skin that was added, well, actually this Isis skin is blue. They're kind of following a bit of like the blue skin train at the moment, so it's the new green at the moment. I'm waiting for like we've gone from red to green to blue. We're gonna get some yellow skins, something like that. I don't know. Purple? Come on, give us some purple. That'll do. Okay, so we've got Century Vulcans. For anyone that's played Global Agenda, it's basically the engineer skin, which they've actually taken as well for the cannon turret that he has is now like a missile turret from Global Agenda. So anyone that got level 30 in Global Agenda on any character will have got this skin for free, but it's only 300 gems as well if you haven't. But what you could possibly do is go into Global Agenda, free to play, and then just kind of burn up a few ranks. It won't take you that long. Level 30 is not too bad. Maybe a couple of days. If you kind of caned it a bit, you'll be done. Okay, new voice packs added as well. We've got Apollo, Aphrodite, and Isis got an Apollo pack. Not Apollo pack. What am I on about? Voice pack on her first day. Now, they've changed the way the god levels are, like your account levels. So now your account levels are beta levels. So you'll see now that beta level is at 30, if you're at 30, that is. Okay, now god leveling and worshippers. Now, for every game that is won, your god will earn worshippers. Now, the amount of worshippers will... let's have a look. The amount of worshippers will dictate which god rank each god is currently at. Okay, so there's no set amount of worshippers that you gain per match. There's some matches where I was like fed to high heaven, completely kicked everybody's ass, and I got 8. And then there was a pretty even match that kind of was the same kind of length as well, and I got 21 worshippers. So kind of there's not a set amount, and I don't really know why that is. So there are 10 god ranks that each god can achieve, and it goes up pretty much every 100 worshippers gives you a new rank. So that's 1,000. Yeah, that's 1,000 worshippers that you get to max rank. For each god at rank 1, you will trigger a mastery level for your account. So underneath beta level on your account in the lobby, you'll see mastery level. So every god that you've managed to get a few wins with to get rank 1 on them will count to your mastery level. And mastery level goes up to the amount equal to the amount of gods in the game. So at the moment there's 36. So there's 36 mastery levels that you can obtain at the minute. So yeah, at the end of a match, you'll see the new amount of worshippers gained and the progress level. And that's about it. You'll go forward. Knockback. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so play 11, as I said, there's an next bit on the patch notes, is about like the beta levels that we've just gone through. Okay, the Twitch broadcaster had a little bit of kind of now the friends tab, so anybody that's using the Twitch TV integrated broadcaster to stream can now be viewed through people's friends tab. So if you've got a friend that wants to watch you, that's going to be fine. We've got the pricing change from recolor skins. Now I quite like this one because I'm constantly working on favour to get the recolor skins. So they're going down from 11,000 to 9,500. So not a lot. It's only like 1,500 favour, but that's enough. Just kind of a nice little bit there. Now they've just changed the end game's screen as well. So the end of the match summary screen now shows tower damage instead of tower kills. So how much damage you actually do to a tower rather than, oh okay, I got the last hit, so that's my tower kill. Okay, and healing from Death Toll and Vampiric Shroud are now excluded from the healing stats. So I can presume that's probably just going to be health potions, life steal that you got, and obviously healing skills that most people have. The VGS commands have increased spam control, so the amount of people that used to do laugh right at the end or just spam up VGS kind of emotes all the time, just kind of, they put us like a slight delay in the same one for you. Okay, challenges have changed. All challenge modes now allow the option for 1 versus 1, in addition to 2v2, 3v3, 4v4, and 5v5. So that's like your custom game matches that you did there. Also, when creating a challenge match, there's now the option to allow global chat, so you can talk to both teams. And there is now the option to allow or disallow spectating and recording of matches. Now, I don't know how that's going to work. Maybe that's just going to be like, oh, we're not going to let anybody spectate on match. I don't know how they're going to stop the recording of matches. Maybe, well, if you the way spectator works at the minute, if somebody spectates your match, it's recorded as a replay. So if that's why a lot of people don't actually have their match recorded, and it's kind of a bit of a bummer for some people, but that's kind of how it goes. Spectator change. Most people aren't worried about this. The spectator HUD now shows ranked of the actives, or the active abilities, because you know the tier active items that come in. It didn't actually display that for us spectators when we use it. And the lobby now, we can see the drafts before they come up. So that's pretty much about that. Items, there's only one item change, and that's a sound effect, obviously, for Blink. Now that's great, because most of the time Blink got used against me. I kind of went, oh, it's lag, it's lag. But at least now I get a sound effect. I know exactly what's happened, and it kind of helps me out a little bit more there. God changes we have. Aphrodite, Undying Love, which is her ultimate. The ability is now usable while under the effect of Fenrir's Bite. So basically it's her beads and, well, her ultimate ability that stopped everything. So now that she's under Fenrir's Bite, she can use it in his teeth. So that's basically like her 3 beads again. That's the way she's doing. Cupid's passive now has improved UI treatment. So I've not had a chance to see this yet, so we'll have to just kind of stay tuned for that one. Fenrir now properly remains captured in Artemis traps while using his Brutalize and lands on it. So if you're Artemis, drop down a trap in front of you before Fenrir jumps at you, and then you get stuck in it, so he can't go nowhere. His basic attack speeds have been increased from 0.94 to 1. Okay, so it's like 0.6 increase, like a base attack speed. And then additionally, per level is increased from 1.6% to 1.7%. So only very slight increases, but it still helps out. He does attack quite fast, and it's quite nice now. Now, the physical lifesteal percentage increased from 5% to 25% is now up to 15% to 35%. So that was a good 10% increase across the board for his physical lifesteal on Seething How. Now, Brutalize, the base damage of this ability has been increased as well. So we saw a lot of Fenrir nerfs come out last week, and they probably kind of like over nerfed him. So they're just trying to bring him back up a little bit, just kind of like going about halfway between the gap that they did. So the Brutalize, the damage of this ability has been increased from the 40 to 160 per hit to 45 to 165. So it's only an extra 5 damage per hit, but it's the base damage. So you can obviously, that gets increased with all the items and the items and everything that kind of goes on. So it's only very slight, but it can make a big effect later on. Now, Hell's Cleanse ability now removes the effect of Fenrir's Bite on allies, so she can cleanse out his ultimate as well. He's just getting crapped on all the time, isn't he, really? Hercules Earthshaker, the range of this ability has been increased from 40 to 45, Earthbreaker, from 40 to 45 feet, which it kind of felt too short, especially when he first came out. We had a really long distance kind of, you could catch anybody. Then it becomes so short that unless you was like within Divine Strike's range, that he wasn't actually going to get anybody in. So this is going to be quite nice. His Mitigate Wounds. This ability now heals for 120. Well, not 100. Nah. Now heals for 15 to 55. Obviously, that 15 is level 1. 55 is level 5. Every second for 4 seconds when initiated. The percentage of the damage done within the 4 seconds that is returned as healing has been changed from 30 to 130% for 1% for every 2% health missing, to 40 to 120% So it's better low end, not so good top end, and without any additional scaling. So they've kind of reduced the top end scaling, so he's not as tanky end game as he is beginning of the game. So it kind of evens him up there a little bit. Kali's Frenzy, the ability is now used while under the effect of Fenrir's Bite. So look, Fenrir's just getting shit on this patch completely. Even with a little bit of buff, it's just messing him right up. Okay, so Najar's Ring Toss. They've scaled this back a little bit, but it's one of them that's like a side grades. It's not a nerf, it's not a buff, it's just changing slightly how it works. The number of bounces have been reduced from 5 at level 1 and 9 at level 5 to 3 at level 1 and 7. So they're taking 2 ring jumps off of each level. So, okay. And the total and the initial number, hang on. So minus 2 off all ranks, total number of hits is whatever listed, plus 1 for the initial hit. Okay, so you get the hit, and then it hits for another, bounces 3 more times after that. The damage per hit has been increased from 50 to 130 to 75 to 175. So basically what they've done, which there's a few more bits as well, they've reduced the amount of bounces, but increased the rest of the stats. So like I said, it's just pretty much flat equal. Okay, the physical scaling's gone from 15% to 20% per hit, and the physical protection reduction per hit is gone from 10 to 15. Okay, the movement speed buff that Najar gets increased from 4% to 5% for stack, so it's like almost negatable again. And the armillary sash physical scaling has gone from 50 to 150%. Now that's the one where you stun and kind of go towards. Now it doesn't do that much damage, so now it's actually going to do a little bit more damage when obviously you hit them. But that's the only time it does damage, when you get pulled towards them. Now Ra's Solar Blessing has a modest adjustment to its effects. Haven't quite seen that yet. And Ymir's Shards of Ice, a new camera treatment has been added to the ultimate, and they want a bit of feedback. So obviously when Ymir goes into his ultimate, yeah, I've still got to try this one as well. The camera will do something funny. So we'll see how that looks. Obviously Ymir players would have already seen this one. And yeah, that's the patch notes. Now I like Isis, but I don't see her as a full-time mid laner. Now she's got very useful kind of skills that she can be used for a mid laner. But as you can see in like some of the clips that I had, the Agni that I was up against, obviously I'm still getting used to how to use Ice as mid, but a lot of like aggression and stuff like that will kind of push you back quite hard. Now, don't get me wrong, she could probably be quite good mid, but then again you could see like the clips obviously with me and the Najar with just the extra stuns, the lane push. We can just kind of work together and you're not kind of then vulnerable, obviously. Me and that Agni got fed so quickly. It was just a really bad start. Obviously, the team I was with wanted to do like the mini golf, the Golf Fury camp, the mini Golf Fury camp, and the movement speed buff. And I'm sitting again, that's going to put me so far behind, and it did actually put me like 2 levels behind so quickly, and that's why he was ripping me apart. By the end of the game, I was actually kind of winning, but you should see that on her that was killing me a bit further on here. He had like at one stage 14 to 1. Just so fed early game. That was the Najar game. I can't see the clips up. So yeah, she's more of a team fighter utility than being on her own. So obviously you can do stuff on her own, but if somebody gets really close to you, you can't use your 2 because it just doesn't have to, you can't work proximity wise. You need to have a bit of distance, and also kind of the way you use your 1 and your 2. They're kind of like skill shots, like Mummify and all that stuff, but with a slight added difficult effect because they can see it coming if they're looking. You've got to predict where they've got to go, and the travel time's a lot slower than stuff like Mummify. So you've actually got to kind of plan. You've really got to know the opponent that you're going up against before you actually understand where you need to put it. Now, it's all about body language and where you can force them to go with zoning. But it's a lot more kind of added stuff to it. Don't get me wrong, I actually like Isis. I just kind of fresh look on a lot of things. So I hope you guys have actually enjoyed watching this video. like the video, kind of comment, give us your feedbacks. Also, my pronunciation during kind of like the lore aspect, terrible. Was it Dynity, Dinity, or whatever, the way it's supposed to be, but not. Follow me on Twitter at RizTheUK. I need to really sort out my Facebook because a lot of people don't use Twitter. I've got daily content going up, gameplays on my main channel, HiRez on basically where this one's being posted, and then also there's competitive matches that I shoutcast on my separate channel, HiRez Smite, which you can find if you go into my channel kind of section here, or just search it on YouTube as it is. I could put a link in the bottom, possibly. Okay, so I hope you guys have actually enjoyed this. I've enjoyed making it. Actually took a little bit longer than I normally do, as I normally just do like a playthrough and talk at the same time. This one was kind of like a bit of afterthought and processing. So have fun, everyone, and I'll see you lot tomorrow.